Before we talk of other things, who the hell am I?
I'll tell you who you are. You're a dirty son of a double-crosser, a two-bit con artist who thinks he can pretend that he's lost his memory. Well, I'll get it back for you.
No, hold on.
Ah. Got it back already, have you?
Everything is ready, my darling. Do not be afraid. Soon we'll be together again.
This sandwich tastes as dry as hell.
Hello and welcome to Hello, This is the Doom Show. I am Richard. Folks, I'm very excited because the stars have aligned and I finally got a long time talking about we're going to do this one day person. And here they are. It's Darren Burrows. Hello, Darren.
Hi, Richard. How are you?
Great. Glad to have you finally.
I have been looking forward to this. Once we finally got, the date together a few weeks ago,
Yep.
You mentioned like what film to do, and I was in two minds. I think I give you 2 or 3 films, but yeah, the one we settled on, which we're going to cover today, I'm really excited to talk about.
Oh yeah, big same. And this is Puzzle from 1974. It is a Duccio Tessari joint. And it's the Italian title is L'uomo senza memoria, directed by Duccio Tessari. If that name is familiar to you giallo fans out there, it's because he directed The Bloodstained Butterfly and also Death Occurred Last Night,
which has recently just come out on Blu-ray.
Yeah, that one I need to be in a good headspace for because it's so sad.
I've never seen it, so is it kind of like a police type film? I've heard as well.
Oh yeah,
like a crime film.
It is absolutely I consider it a giallo for sure. It is just a gut punch.
Okay, so I just bought the Blu-ray, so I'm looking forward to watching that because I've had that film for so long on such a rubbish copy.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's definitely stylish. I think you'll enjoy it, but yeah, just be prepared.
Would you put it on a par with The Bloodstained Butterfly?
It's been so long since I saw The Bloodstained Butterfly. I would literally watch them both again to answer that question because it's been so many years.
It's been a while for me, but I remember really liking that one. I like some of like the stuff in that, like you get like an Argento style kill without giving anything away, and then you've got I think it's like a court drama part as well in some of it. But
that's the part I remember less fondly.
yeah. But I think it works. I think everything works in that film. Yeah, but this one though, I think is just I can't wait to see your views on this one. But
Ready. Well, I'm gonna play a very long trailer. This is it's a good trailer. It's in English, which is sometimes tough to find with a giallo, but it's in English. It's just a very long trailer. So let's get this thing out of the way here.
It's like I was born 8 months ago, in that clinic where I woke up. But who am I? Who? The doctor says I'm scared of what I'd remember.
Your name is Ted Walden. You were born 30 years ago, here in jolly old England, in Brockhurst in Kent. You lived here, on the continent, and in New York. You got married 2 years ago to an American.
Married?
Now then, buddy boy, you tell me whether...
Is it bad news, Sarah?
It's from my long-lost husband. He disappeared in London.
This means they set up our meeting. And whoever they are, they're killers.
has to be the work of a sadist or a madman, I think. No one in their right mind would do a thing like that.
I'll kill you if you even try to bring Sarah into this.
Well, that's a good start. You're getting back into character again.
But who am I?
A dirty, rotten bastard.
Let's quit kidding around. The stuff. Where is it, buddy?
Stop it! No more, please!
What I want looks like a big string of sausages.
Don't!
A
Please!
big string of white sausages. When I said I was going to kill you in 5 days, I wasn't kidding.
Go away!
5 days. This is where I give you yours, Ted.
Do you remember? What does it mean? Try to remember, Ted. You've got to remember. You've got to.
Before we go any further, we're going to spoil this thing, and, you know, with the giallos, you definitely don't want the ending beforehand.
Right.
And especially one that's this good. Here's the plot synopsis from IMDb. An amnesiac man and his estranged wife restart their romance, only to find themselves hounded by unscrupulous figures from his past life. The aforementioned Duccio Tessari, he also co-wrote this with someone named Roberto Infaschelli.
Yeah, you said it better than I would.
Oh, man, I'm trying. He wrote my wife's absolute favorite Italian film, Night Train Murders. Hey, Lietta, what's the matter? Don't you like Night Train Murders?
Oh, man, I love that film. I know. Like, for a female, it's quite a hard film to watch.
Yes. That's the one when anyone asks her, like, what is the least favorite thing I've ever shown her, she always brings that one up.
And I totally get it as well. But for me, that's surprisingly, that would be in my top kind of 10, 15 movies of all time, which I don't know if that says a lot about me, but, you know,
Hey,
but not for those type, you know, the really icky scenes in it, but all the other stuff I love.
But this dude, he also produced two things: The Sunday Woman, which is really good, and also Doppio Delitto, aka Double Murder, which is also funny. That's both of those have some nice comedic elements to them that I really enjoy.
I think the murder weapon in The Sunday Woman took me by surprise a little bit.
Yes.
Very much like The Sister of Ursula. Like in terms of that.
What a weird double feature. Like,
yeah. I kind of, the comedy took me out a little bit of The Sunday Woman. I didn't really like it that much. You can't not see that at the ending as what it is really. But
exactly.
Yeah.
Very silly. I enjoyed it. Another guy who wrote this was Bruno Di Geronimo, which I'm like, is that Italian? Geronimo? I love it. I've never come across that name as an Italian name before.
Yeah.
Love it. He wrote The Weapon, the Hour, the Motive. He wrote What Have You Done to Solange? And he also wrote Paranoia, the Carol Baker as a race car driver movie.
Oh, man. That's a great one as well. Yeah.
That's
a pretty good, set of films that he's wrote, really.
Telling you. I've been dying to rewatch that one. Good stuff.
Yeah. Is that the one on the Lenti box set? I think it is, yeah.
Absolutely is.
Yeah.
As far as this cast, it's led by Senta Berger, who is just absolutely gorgeous in this. She plays Sarah Grimaldi. She was in a French giallo that I know I've seen called Diabolically Yours.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know much. I mention it just because I've seen it. I don't remember enough about it.
That's the 1967 film?
Yeah.
That's one I've got an old file on. We were talking about off air, weren't we, about files we got on hard drives and stuff. I've got that, but I've never watched it. I think I may have the subs as well for it, hopefully. So.
I bet you do. Her husband, her estranged husband, who's named Ted, a.k.a. Peter, is played by the one and the only Luke Miranda. Oh, man. Luke Miranda, what a joy. He's done so much great stuff for giallo and crime films. He's a bit of an acrobat. He loves to jump and kick people or jump and tackle people or just something. He has the best fight scene ever in Torso. Oh, my God.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Dude.
He's kind of Italian royalty, I'd say, in terms of actors.
Good call. I want to say he was talking about injuring his back a bunch of times doing these crazy stunts in a documentary. I forget. I don't know if that was him or not. It probably was, though.
No, that sounds about right, yeah. Because he was alive up until at least a few years ago. I'm not sure if he's died recently. Maybe.
Maybe. I'm not
sure. He was definitely alive because he was doing interviews up to a few years ago. But that Santa Berger, she starred in The Testament of Dr. Mabuse, 1962 film. Yeah, I was reading up. And she's also in Sherlock Holmes and the Deadly Necklace with Christopher Lee, 62 as well.
I still haven't seen that. I look forward to watching that.
I've never seen that, no, but
I would absolutely watch it.
Yeah.
So next up is Daniele, although I am going to call him Reinhardt, because that's how they kept referring to him in the movie. This is Umberto Orsini, who was in what I think is a great Exorcist ripoff called The Antichrists.
Oh, I've never seen that one. That's Alberto Di Martino.
Yeah, it's a little overly long, but I never notice that it's long. It's so weird and over the top as Exorcist ripoffs can be.
Right. My mate Dirk, he absolutely loves that.
Nice.
Everyone I spoke to loves Antichrist. But he was actually in, I was going to ask you about this film, a giallo called Interrobang from 1968. Yeah. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
I think you may have had that in one of your books, if I remember
definitely
right.
In the book. I'm trying to remember it. Oh, it's a really weird one. Yeah, it's very, the tone is very mysterious. It's got the dude from Watch Me When I Kill in it. Yeah, it's a very strange film. It's definitely a wee bit pretentious.
Okay, yeah. That's one I've always wanted to see and never got around to it.
Yeah, it's definitely not bad. It's just weird. Thank you for calling. Thank you for picking up on that. I had no idea he was in that.
It's weird how some of these, actors, and you kind of look up their filmographies and you think, shit, I wish I, checked that out, when I had the chance. And some of the early giallos some of these actors have done is like mind-boggling when you think about it.
Yeah, the 60s was just nothing but, as soon as they got over the whole spy film thing, because I never liked the spy films, the Bond ripoffs that much.
No, me.
As they wanted to get into those thrillers, which were always, not always, 90% of the time were inheritance schemes, or hey, my rich husband sucks. You're my lover. Help me kill him.
Right, that's what Umberto Lenzi started then, really, didn't he? Because you've got Bava's got the old-fashioned kind of what Dario Argento took to another level, with a black killer. But then I don't mind some of the. I know a lot of people that don't like the Lenzi ones, the early Lenzi ones.
Oh, they're great. Yeah.
But you've got one on top of the other as well. Fulci, similar type. I love all them as well. But it took me a while to warm to some of them. But now I can watch them all day long.
Yeah, as you get more obsessed with the genre, you're going to be watching stuff that you never thought. Like I'll watch an Italian film that was released around the time of the Gialli that can be almost any genre. Like if it has an urban setting, I'm into it. If it's like 1971 urban setting, even if it's just a drama, I'll watch it just to accidentally get that Giallo vibe from it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm exactly the same. Because I've recently watched Lucio Fulci's 4 of the Apocalypse. I've never seen it before.
Wow, nice.
Dirk absolutely thinks it's a masterpiece. I was kind of disappointed a little bit. But I will say, now I've let the film process in my mind a little bit more, I think I'm going to go back to it and love it. Because everyone I speak to just sings his praises all the time. I just don't think I was expecting the film it was.
Yep, that's what happened to me.
Sense.
I had the same exact reaction where I was like, wait, what is this? Like, I'm like, okay, it's this spaghetti western. It's by Fulci. It front loads a lot of violence in the beginning, and then it goes on a journey. So it's a journey film.
Yeah.
And I did not expect that at all. And yeah, I think you and I probably had the same initial reaction. And then in hindsight, it's like, ooh, there's something special there.
Yeah. Second time you think, yeah. But Thomas Millian as well is one of my favorite actors in that.
Yeah. Nice.
He's amazing.
So next up in the cast is Anita Strindberg, another giallo queen. Just unbelievable. This is my favorite thing. She plays an American, and her character's name is Mary Kane.
Yeah.
American named Mary Kane.
I know, yeah. Right now, enough. I know we'll come on to the actual film plot and all that, but I would love to have seen her in it a little bit more.
Yeah. I forgot when the first time I saw it, like I forgot that her character shows up earlier. I had only remembered her with the car scene.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so bad that they had just had her in that one moment, completely forgetting that I'd seen her in the rest of the movie, at least, not a lot. Yeah. I mean, I don't think we even have her listed in our key scenes that we're talking about.
Right, yeah, probably not. Yeah,
damn it, she's in it. We've got Bruno Corazzari as George. George is our heavy in this movie, one of a couple heavies. But this guy, 7 bloodstained orchids, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. He was in 103 things.
Wow!
In his career,
I know he's in The Strange Voice of
the
Mrs.
Psychic.
Ward. Yeah, it was Fulci. Because he was actually in for The Apocalypse. That's what brought it to my mind. And then he teamed up with him again for The Psychic. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, he's great. I always love him.
Oh man, he's in a few crime films as well, if I remember rightly.
Absolutely.
But he also did a Mario Bava film, Roy Colt and Winchester Jack, which I've never seen.
Yes, I have seen that years ago. That is a very strange movie. It was like one of those, I think it was another one of those, he was a hired gun, like the director dropped out last minute and he had to take over.
Okay, yeah.
It's really cheap. It is like threadbare.
Right. Is that like it's not what is it a Western?
It's absolutely a Western, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Tom Filley is in this as Dr. Archibald T. Wildgate. Tom Filley, he was in tons of stuff. The movie I always think about him first is Nightmare City.
Yes.
He has the funniest character arc in Nightmare City. I want to say he's like the military science officer. And they're like, hey, military science officer, go study this weird disease. And he's like, I'll be right back. And then the next time you see him, he's on a fucking gurney, just dead from the disease.
That film is wild, man. Nightmare City. I have so much fun watching that.
I remember being so disappointed in that movie the first time. It was not what I was expecting. It was not what I wanted. And then I rewatched it. It was when Jeffrey and I did an episode on it way back, it was like the second episode Jeffrey was on the show. So 10 years ago. That was my second viewing, was for the podcast, and I loved it.
Isn't it weird how a film can do that, though? You watch it first time, don't like it, go back, give it a bit of time, and then you think, what was I doing? Was I on drugs or anything? Why the hell didn't I like it the first time?
And that one's had a complicated Blu-ray history, because the Raro video Blu-ray, it looked good, but the color timing was off. So a lot of the bright colors were kind of yellow. So it was a sharp image, but then it wasn't the right color. It looked off. And then Arrow Video did a Blu-ray of it, and the copy they had was damaged,
print damage. I remember,
chemical damage on it, because it would look like it had been left out in a toilet for a while. It was so bad.
Yeah.
So I have both.
Probably the best we're gonna see. Yeah, you need a mixture of the two together, really.
I can't believe I have to have both.
But I mean, it's Nightmare City, I'm quite happy watching it like that, with print damage and grimy, give it that grindhouse feel,
There you go.
Work in your favor type of thing.
Nice. I don't recognize Philip. Philip is the first guy who's going to show up and harass Luke Morinda's character. He's going to harass Peter, a.k.a. Ted. But yeah, he's in a bunch of stuff. If I've seen him in something else, I don't remember it.
Kind of blink and you miss him type of thing.
Exactly.
In this one. Yeah.
And we got Carla Mancini, the chameleon. She was, I don't even know who she is in this movie. She's that lady that was in the union, the Italian Actors Union. And so she has to be, someone from that union has to be in your movie. So you get like kickbacks from that union.
Right.
To help get the film produced, which is why she was in 241 movies.
Wow.
Yeah. And I always forget what she looks like. And then I always forget what character she played in the movie.
I can't remember what character she is in this either.
Exactly. She's in, but look at her credits. It's crazy. It's completely insane. Like every genre, she's just popping up as maid or whatever.
Some kind of tax scam or something like that.
Exactly. Last but not least, Duilio Cruciani is Luca, our special boy character. He is a child that lives next door to Sarah's, Senta Berger's character, Sarah, and he has decided that she's going to marry him when he's old enough. So,
and it is very creepy, their relationship, gross. Actually, if you think about it.
Yep. But it's not her. She's not like encouraging. She's not exactly discouraging it, but she's not making it worse. He's just like in love with his lady. It's whatever. But he was in Don't Torture a Duckling as one of the kids.
Yeah, and he was in, I can't place the name offhand, but he was in one of Lindsay's crime films with Thomas Milan as well.
Oh, shit.
Syndicate Sadist. And that's a great film because he plays a similar role of mine, the little kid, he's kind of doing his own thing. But I actually think his dubbing in this is worse, right? And I'm going to say this. It's worse than Bob from House by the Cemetery. Yeah, I mean, just the moment he comes on screen with his... And do you know if that was his real voice? I don't know.
It can't be. I would be shocked if that was his real voice.
It is horrible, man. It's horrible. I think he did have a similar voice, or might have had the same voice actor when he did that Syndicate Sadist as well.
Oh man,
that kind of makes you think whether it was his, but
maybe he wasn't busy,
Right? Yeah. Did he go? Do you know if he went on to make any more films when he was older or anything?
I think he stopped while he was still a teenager. I don't think he got past it. I think the last credit was in like 1980 or something like that.
Well, that surprises me because obviously apart from the voice, I think he's a decent little actor.
Oh, he's not bad.
From what I've seen him in.
Nice. All right, let's dig into this plot here. This film opens up with our pal Peter, as we call him in the first part of the film here. He is an amnesiac, and he's at his psychiatrist's office, who is played by Tom Falahy, who, honestly, if he's your therapist, you're in big trouble. Because that guy, he's seen some shit.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Falahy's freaking character's name is Dr. Archibald T. Wildgate. The most elaborate name ever.
Longest name you could have put on screen.
Oh man, put him and Mary Kane in a room together and they could be friends. So ridiculous. He gets reunited with his old friend Philip. Philip has contacted this therapist, and he's gonna have this big reunion to help good old Peter remember. Let's remember each other, right? This doesn't work, but in order to continue this therapy session out in the world, Philip follows Peter back to his place. What happens when he and Philip are alone together?
I mean, it is crazy because when they first initially meet, you think, he knows this guy from somewhere and they're going to get on. They were perhaps friends. But once they just get in this room, this Philip just freaks out, just starts punching him. And it comes from nowhere as well, It's not really a fight. I think it's just a one-punch thing in it. And it's crazy because while after this all happens, there's a gunshot goes off and this Philip guy's like shot dead through a window, open window, I presume.
Right there.
It is crazy. And that's like kind of, all in the first, 5 minutes, you would say.
Philip is telling Peter, aka Ted, he tells him his name is actually Ted, that there's some stuff, there's some products, some merchandise
That's
that
right.
they had stolen together. So he's trying to like squeeze the information out of him. And when it doesn't work, he pulls a gun and boom, gone.
Right. And the way he disposes of his body as well is quite funny.
He pulls down the Murphy bed and just throws the corpse in there and shuts it, because as he's trying to figure out what to do with his corpse, a telegram from his wife shows up. Hi, you're my husband. Come to frickin' Portofino, bro. And so,
And was that in like a hotel as well with the fold-up bed?
I'm guessing it was a hotel. It's a small flat. I don't know.
Because that's going to smell after a while. I mean, that's not the best idea he's ever had.
You can never go back. London is over for you.
Right, yeah.
Before we talk of other things, who the hell am I?
I'll tell you who you are. You're a dirty son of a double-crosser, a two-bit con artist who thinks he can pretend that he's lost his memory. Well, I'll get it back for you.
No, hold on.
Ah. Got it back already, have you?
Good old Ted. He moves on with his life and is headed to Portofino in Italy. And then we get to see some little boys swimming, having a swimming meet. And we get introduced to Sarah, a.k.a. Senta Berger. And we get to meet Luca, who I wrote in my notes as Luca the Infernal. That's how I refer to him. But yeah, so he is, of course, being flirty with her. And it is what it is.
It's disturbing in a way, but I mean, it's not, it's kind of, it's all on his part, should we say, She kind of doesn't discourage him, like you said earlier, but I mean, it's just like, he's just infatuated with her. He'll do anything for her. And it does come into play as well a little bit later on.
Yeah, and one of the other things about Luca is he's an amateur photographer. Yeah. Which I found really funny when we see his photographs later. They were definitely taken by like a professional photographer. Yeah,
it's quite funny.
Whoa, yeah. This kid is a freaking wonderkind, man. Wow.
Right, and that comes into play as well, doesn't it? Exactly. The photographs.
Everything is earned in this movie. That's what I've found. And speaking of things that you shouldn't be surprised will pay off later, let's talk about this chainsaw that's in here.
Right, so yeah, and I mean, once you go back and rewatch the film, you can kind of tell it was just done this scene just to set it up.
Yep.
What's going to happen later on in the film and that. But basically, yeah, I presume it's her gardener, Vittorio. He's using the chainsaw outside, and she just casually says, by the way, will you leave that, in the cupboard when you finish with it? And I mean, giallo films like we do, we know that's going to come into play at some point. But yeah, it just, it just gets you thinking, straight away, that's going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah, it's called Chekhov's chainsaw. That's what I call it.
Right.
I just had my mind blown by who is the gardener, but I'm going to save that for my trivia. Since I have no trivia for this, I suspect you have some trivia for this movie.
Yeah, I might have a little bit. Yeah.
Cool, but I'll save who the gardener is for later. She's borrowing this place. This is like someone's summer house, and she's been living there since her husband, Ted, disappeared. And for some reason, that means that the gardener who's keeping the place up has to borrow her chainsaw, which is fine. That could happen. Why she keeps it in the cupboard in the kitchen,
who knows?
That must be an Italian thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's certainly not a British thing. I know
that. So that night, our little hero, what is the dog's name?
Whiskey.
I can't believe I forgot that. They only say it 6,000 times.
They do actually, yeah.
So Whiskey's our little wiener dog, and he's the literal best. He's the cutest dog ever. The dog is trying to warn her that someone is in the house. The dog is going ballistic, and she's just like, "Oh, you're so funny. Do you want a drink of water?" And then she gets chloroformed, and the next morning, cops are there, and her house is trashed. but that's all that happened. Someone just turned over her house. Nothing's missing. They just went through everything.
Yeah, which is quite strange, and she acts as if like it's just an everyday thing, You just, this guy in the middle of the night chloroforms you, and nothing's really ever said about that, after the police, turn up the next day.
She just acts like, oh, this has happened before, but I was never home before. Okay.
Yeah.
So finally, she is reunited with good old Ted. There's a funny moment where she's waiting for him at the train station, and he doesn't recognize her and keeps walking. But this mysterious gentleman named George tells Ted, hey, your wife's still waiting on the platform, dumbass. So he goes back. They're reunited. My favorite moment in this is that there's this really hot girl who he was kind of hoping it was his wife.
Yeah.
And I wanted him to be like, oh, you're my wife. Okay, I wanted to remember her, though.
Right. Sarah's pretty hot as well.
Oh, I know. I was just going to say.
Yeah.
This is like probably the most beautiful I've ever seen her ever. It's incredible.
Have it your way. Have it your way. Have it your way at Burger King.
May I help you, sir?
2 Whoppers, 2 Whopper Juniors, and 4 Coca-Cola. And would I have to wait long if you made 1 Whopper with no pickle and no lettuce?
No, sir.
Hold the pickle, hold the lettuce. Special orders don't upset us. All we ask is that you let us serve it your way.
Oh, well, in that case, could I have the other Whopper with extra ketchup?
Sure. We can serve your broiled beef Whopper fresh with everything on topper. Any way you think is proper, have it your way.
Now, that's the way to do things. Our way.
Have it your way. Have it your way at Burger King. At Burger King.
Back at the place, something happens when Ted sees their clock. What was that about?
What happens in this film, right, is all about kind of memory. He's getting his memory back every so often. A little piece of the jigsaw puzzle kind of comes together. Pardon the pun, puzzle. But, yeah, so the clock has something to do with the plot or something to do with his past year where something's happened, but I don't want to go too much into it. But it will, again, come into play later on. Let's put it this way. I think he buys her the clock, doesn't he, before all this happened?
Yeah.
With one thing in mind, shall we say. I'll just say that for now. But,
nice.
Yeah, it is kind of an important plot point. Yeah.
Yeah. And it introduces that motif of his memory slowly coming back.
Right. Yeah.
Love it. We get some fat shaming at the pool. The guy who's been romancing Sarah this whole time is Daniele, a.k.a. Reinhardt. He's like a happening dude. He's got the high-heeled shoes. He's got, some nice tight pants on. He seems like a good guy, right?
Right. He's also a lot older than her as well, I think.
Yes. He works at the pool. He's like a swimming instructor / coach for this boys' swimming team. And he's literally fat-shaming this kid. And I'm like, yo, you gained some weight. You better be careful with all that pasta, buddy. And I'm like, have you ever heard of a growing boy? Have you ever heard of the phrase, kids grow so fast?
Right. And I was kind of confused what his role is in this school. I know he fat shamed that kid, but what is his actual role?
I made it up. I just assumed he was like the swim coach / swimming instructor. Could be.
Right. Could well be. But
teacher.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This is what more viewings will reveal to us as we go along.
Exactly.
George gets punched in the face. He thinks he's following Ted around, but in fact, he's not following Ted around because Ted sneaks up on him from around a corner and punches him right in the face. George has a habit of blowing his nose and leaving tissues everywhere. Very charming. What a catch this guy must be.
When we actually find out why he's following him as well. He's been on this whole scheme. There's that merchandise. He wants that merchandise, and it's worth $1 million. Yeah.
And if he can't come up with it, because if Ted doesn't come up with it, both of them are going to get killed. He threatens Ted like, I'll kill your wife too. I'm not going out alone. These guys probably won't be buds at the end of the day.
But it's kind of not his best plan either, is because if he does kill him, he's never going to get that $1 million. You know,
he should be bringing him like supplements, like ginkgo biloba.
Right? Yeah, he should be. His best friend.
Flashcards. Do some flashcards. You know, do some like listen to his favorite songs. You know, like I'm just assuming that Ted, when he had his memory, was really into like the Macarena.
Because they're really kind of well-to-do as well, you know. They're not poor people. Anyone in this film, apart from the little kid, lives with his nana or what have you. But
they're
pretty well-to-do.
So unfortunately, this movie has our puppy pal doesn't make it. What happens with Whiskey?
Right. So I think she comes back after letting the boy walk the dog, which is probably again not the best things he's ever done. But this dog then, it goes off, the little boy then, he's like chasing around, you know, where's whiskey? And then Sarah gets back to her, you know, her abode, and then finds the dog slashed on the bed, which, animal lovers, I know, are not going to love that scene, to be honest. But
luckily, it is such a fake dog.
Yeah. The actual concept is kind of brutal, though, with a straight razor. And that's probably, like, there is one, without jumping the gun, there is one kind of slash scene towards the end. But this is nothing like an Argento style, you know, Black Glove Killer or any of that.
Yeah, the budget was not going to be for the realistic effects on that. But the blood of the dog on the bed reminds Ted of something horrific he witnessed, where he's standing there holding somebody from behind, like holding their arms behind them, and another figure is slashing the person's throat.
I mean, that's a really cool scene as well, because he has this flashback, I think, with the mirror as well. I think the mirror maybe jogs his memory and that. But that comes up a couple of times in his, you know, as he's piecing everything together. I thought that was a really cool scene, like one of the better scenes of the film, I think.
This woman, Mary Kane, she knows this gang of people who stole stuff, and she's trying to sort of seduce Ted and everything and try to help him jog his memory. Or if he's lying, that's the other thing, is people think he's lying about losing his memory. If she can trick him into admitting that he's not really lost his memory. When that doesn't work, I'm going to go ahead and spoil it, folks. She is a accomplice with our pal Daniele Reinhardt. She runs over Sarah in a parking lot, and instead of taking her to a real hospital, they wrap her leg up while she's, I'm assuming, unconscious, and smuggle the merchandise, which we'll also reveal here, which is frickin' heroin. And they keep calling it little sausages.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's literally like sausage-shaped heroin bags all connected together, which would be very disappointing for Whiskey. Had Whiskey lived, Whiskey would have wanted actual sausage. I don't think dogs like heroin, although you could train them to like it, possibly.
I'm pretty sure you could,
Don't have the time, honestly. But this leads to a freaking super tense moment where Sarah's alone, recuperating with her leg up on the thing. George pays her another visit. George has been harassing her. He's the one who tossed the apartment. He's the one who's been just always around, always starting shit, right on the periphery and everything. But the first time he came to see her, he acted sort of friendly. He was menacing, but not in a obvious way. This time, he starts throwing lit matches at her.
I mean, I've got a little bit of trivia about that later. It was actually it come from a film. Well, I might as well say it now, but it actually come from a film called Charade, which I think was made in 1962. I think the writer had the idea because the character in that, I think it's Aubrey Hepburn starred in that as well. She's the one who gets, thrown matches on. But that's sort of gives the writer, I think, Gastaldi maybe the idea.
Nice.
When they're doing the screenplay.
Oh man, that cast looks amazing.
Yeah.
Ooh, James Coburn. Shit.
I think he's the one that
Of
puts
course.
the matches on it.
Of course, he'd play the heavy. Yeah. Cool. There you go. See, it's so funny when filmmakers from the 70s are referencing older films, and it's like such a crapshoot if I've seen it or not. I'm like,
right.
Yeah. Cool.
I mean, that makes you want to go and watch it now just for that connection,
exactly.
But it's probably going to end up being bad. But the cast, like you say, is amazing.
No, I'm pretty confident Charad's going to be a freaking great movie. That's my guarantee to you. Just don't hold me to it.
Right.
So he leaves her alone, and lots of stuff happens. If we went into all of the moments in this movie, we'd be here forever. Needless to say, she sees a photo that Luca took of Reinhardt, Daniele, meeting with Mary Kane. And she's like, wait a minute, that's the lady that ran me over. What the hell's going on with this cast? And she immediately starts ripping her cast off. And somehow she couldn't feel like the 6 or 7 sausages of heroin.
Right, yeah.
There. She asked Luca to hide them for her. And that's when the jig is up with good old Daniele. Our pal Ted is just coming from a brutal... He'd been like shot by George, and he killed George, but then he was being held hostage. You see, folks, this is a very convoluted plot.
You've got to get the dummy drop.
Oh, shit, that was in my final thought there. But yes, when George goes flying over the cliff, magic.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
It is
always good to see that.
Fairly convincing dummy, but it's just such a brutal, when it hits the rocks, it's like, oh.
I mean, that fight scene as well, preceding that is great. I mean,
I love, whenever Luke Miranda got a chance, he would do a cool fight scene.
He's ended up doing karate chops and kicks and all sorts, you know.
So while he's on his way back with his, memory possibly restored, our pal Daniele has, he's totally dropped the mask. He is now just threatening to murder Sarah. She locks herself in the kitchen and gets out that trusty chainsaw, and they have a freaking chair versus chainsaw. And I wrote in my notes, never bring a straight razor to a chainsaw fight.
I mean, it's quite comical when you see her with the chainsaw and he's got this little razor up against it, like, and you're thinking, wow. It is so funny. But,
Oh, man. It is such a great moment. It's just so gonzo. Like, I feel like once you got past the early 70s Giallo, there was always some gimmick with like the later ones. Like there's always a Giallo with something else. So like Autopsy is a Giallo with super, super grim, weird shit happening in it.
Yeah.
And then this, I don't know if Texas Chainsaw Massacre had come out and now this movie had to have something to do with a chainsaw in it, or if that was like something that was always in the script. I have no clue. But
because you had Last Ace on the left, didn't you? You had a chainsaw in that.
Shit. Yes, I always forget that was.
So maybe that was an influence, but this was the same year as Texas Chainsaw. So yeah, it would be interesting to see which one did come first.
But then the whole thing, just this fight is just so epic, and of course Ted bursts in, pretending that he's on Daniele's side, and the chainsaw is now been dropped. It's lying, running on the floor, which makes no sense at all.
No.
And then finally, I can't remember if Sarah pushes him or if I
think Luke Miranda's character kicks him.
Okay.
And then he falls onto the chainsaw.
Which he would have to fall onto it and grab the trigger at the same time for it to do what it does, which is...
That's what I was going to ask you, because I didn't even know it. I thought it wasn't on. I thought as he fell on it, that it just comes on automatically. Or something happened.
I think it was running, but it wasn't like revving. It wasn't obvious.
Right.
That
makes sense.
Strange.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So, hey, with the villain defeated, cops burst in and, obviously way too late to do anything. And that's when, Sarah, being a good wife, she starts lying about all this stuff. Like, hey, my husband had nothing to do with anything. This is just some crazy shit that happened. And that's when Luca's like, no, let's tell the truth. Let's do this right. And I'm like, don't do that. Let's go with the lying part.
Right, and that's why I was going to ask you a question about the ending, about your interpretation of it,
Sure.
because they kind of have this smile together after he says, he's going to basically come clean,
Yeah.
and then it just ends. What's your take on that? Do you think he's going to go on and tell the police everything? Because that would make no sense, because both of them would be put away, for a long time.
Yeah.
So I don't know, the little look they exchange, whether they're going to just, I don't know.
My guess is that Ted is going to walk away from this. I think he's going to come clean and have the both of them tell the entire story, and then he's going to roll over on all of his contacts. Now that he has his memory back, he's just going to roll over and just be a total freaking stool pigeon, and then get witness relocation, get out of there.
Yeah.
That's my optimistic view. What about you?
I'm just baffled by, I haven't really got a thought one way or the other. I'm just baffled why you would own up. And surely you would just deny everything and blame Danielle.
Right. I love her shaking her head though, as her like that last thing, and she's just like shaking her head at him like, no, we're gonna lie.
I don't think the director even knew what they were going for, to be honest. Maybe, they didn't have an ending written or something.
Exactly.
Which is surprising when you think Gastaldi was part of the writing team as well.
Oh shit, he was?
Yeah, there's 3 writers.
I missed
certainly
him.
For the screenplay, I think, yeah.
Okay, I missed him. Cool.
My husband had nothing to do with this. He's innocent. I'd be dead if he hadn't got here. Reinhardt tried to kill me. I found out he'd hidden drugs in the cast he put on my leg the other day, and...
That's true about the drugs. I saw them.
No, there's much more to the story than that, Sergeant. And I think we'd better have a long talk.
The producer on this is certainly no slouch. Luciano Martino, brother of Sergio Martino. So you've got...
And husband of Edwige Finesse, I think, at the time.
My brain always forgets that. Thank you for that.
He's got to get props for that,
I know. I can't even... I can't even process that. I'm so happy for him, even if it was only for a short while.
Exactly, man. Everyone would have wanted to have been in his shoes at that time, totally. I think.
The composer on this is Gianni Ferrio. And man, one thing about this movie, its score is incredible.
It really is. Do you know what I was surprised? I was surprised this kind of like The Strange Voice of Mrs. Ward in places.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I got out of it. I love the theme. I absolutely love the theme.
It's one of the most memorable, I've been listening to giallo mixes of music ever since I got into this stuff, and there's pieces of music that are just like a signature of the genre, and this has one of those in it.
Absolutely, yeah.
But Ferrio, he also composed the music for Death Walks at Midnight, which another absolute freaking brilliant score right there.
That's what I'll be covering tomorrow on a future stream. It's going to do the 2 Death Walks. And Forbidden Photos of a Lady Above Suspicion. So I got them to watch overnight.
Oh, man, that's going to be a fun time.
I've seen them all, but it's been a while, so it's going to be like watching them for the first time, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I am about Forbidden Photos. I have not seen that in years.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
The cinematographer on this, I wasn't really familiar with the stuff he shot. He shot a film that I did not like called... Dead of Summer, which is tagged as a giallo, but really it's just artsy lady stuck in a remote location and she's an asshole movie. I don't really know. It's not great. But weirdly enough, he has a story credit on one of the worst Exorcist ripoffs ever called Return of the Exorcist.
That's a new one for me.
1975. It's pretty rough. And, I like Exorcist ripoffs. This one is not. It's watchable, but man, it's so corny and bad. But yeah, Richard Conte's in it and some other people. trying to remember. It has another title like Possessor or something like that. Oh man, yeah, The Possessor. The Possessor.
Yeah, I've never heard of that one. I don't think.
When you're desperate, go for it. But I don't know if you'll ever be that desperate.
Right. It can't be as bad as that one, though, can it? Is it Behind the Door or?
Oh,
Okay.
see, I like Beyond the Door.
Beyond the Door, that's it. Yeah,
I like Beyond the Door. Those kids, as we've talked about, those kids before.
Those asshole kids, yeah.
Yeah, well, we're gonna talk about how we feel about this film, what we, if we loved it, liked it, or I mean, obviously we both hated this. Ugh. But no, what's some trivia you got about the good old puzzle?
Right. So the film originated from La Fine del Eternita, which was an unproduced idea that Gastaldi had concocted with Vittorio Salerno. I might have to say that again. Vittorio Salerno.
There you go.
Where the protagonist has lost his memory. So that was kind of like a sci-fi storyline, which predated Back to the Future. Angelino Rizzoli was going to produce it with Giulio Gemma, starring in the main cast where Luke Miranda would be. But Rizzoli ended up dying in 1970, and it was kind of shelved after that. Also, when Titanis is Godfredo Lombardo asked Tazzari to think about another thriller, that old story kind of came back to his mind. He took out the sci-fi element and he kind of penned this sort of outline for the story, which it was to become. Nothing came of it. Luciano Martino called him and he gave him like a 2-page treatment from Roberto Infaselli. And then it kind of come together after that, is what I read up on.
Nice.
So the amnesia story was a recurrent theme in like 1940s film noir. Also Cornell Woolrich's 1941 novel, The Black Curtain, kind of got a similar thing, going on. And German Laurentiis Hold Up, which was released again in 1941, storyline, may have similar elements. The scene where Luke Miranda's character sees a man get his throat slit is modeled on harmonicas flashbacks in Serra Una Falta e West, with key details relieved bit by bit in that film. That's, again, another kind of influence.
So the only piece I found was by accident. So the gardener, which we barely even see, and the reason I thought it was because you said the gardener's name was Vittorio. This probably Vittorio Fanfoni, who was in just to name a few, What Have You Done to Solange, Web of the Spider, Who Saw Her Die, Beyond the Door. He's uncredited in The Antichrist. He's also in Eyeball, and he's the cop taking notes in Deep Red.
Wow, that's an incredible bunch of films to be. I would love to have that on my CV if I was an actor.
Oh my god,
that is dream-like films, really.
I love it. Darren, you picked this one because you wanted to hate watch it again, right? How do you feel about the shitty puzzle?
Right, so I come into this pretty late. So I first watched this, I would say, a couple of years ago, maybe, because getting hold of the DVD was really hard to do.
Oh, yes.
I think there was a foreign one.
Oh, yeah.
Like a Danish one, I think there was. But anyway, so I first watched it a couple of years ago, really liked everything about it. I like the fact that it's more like a Hitchcockian type, storyline. And it doesn't give you any real gore. It's very minimal, the gore. And I kind of just like the whole memory, getting his memory, losing his memory and getting it back bit by bit. I've always liked those type of films. But yeah, it was a good excuse, actually, when you said to pick a film out. I thought, I really want to see this again. So why not? And it holds up as well. It really holds up. For me, I'd give it, I would, if we're going to give a rating, I would give it a strong 8 out of 10.
Nice.
One of the better, lesser known ones, I would say.
Yes.
Absolutely. How about yourself? How did you first watch this?
I was one of the ones who picked up that foreign DVD. I think it was Dutch or something like that. It's in English. The dubbing is in English, but it's also got maybe the Italian but then all of the subtitles are languages I do not understand. So I've had that DVD forever. And surprisingly, it still looks pretty good after all these years. But that was the first time I saw it was on that disc, and I thought it was really good. I think I enjoyed it more this viewing because I never had appreciated how tight the script is.
Yeah.
So much stuff pays off. Very little is any like slack. It's freaking great. We got J&B in the first 5 minutes, which I thought was wonderful. The camera works great. The aforementioned music by Gianni Ferrio is just totally cool. And the dummy death, as we mentioned, it's so good.
Oh yeah.
I like Luke Miranda's character. He's a secret superhero from the Marvel Universe. His superpower is forgetfulness. Mr. Forgets. I don't know. I made a joke at the end of the review in the first Giallo Meltdown book where I talked about how horrible the song is.
You mean the one from the closing credits?
Yes. I'm still not in love with it, but I actually like that singer. It's
okay.
It's Rosella Canaccini, and I'm trying to remember. She's got some cool songs. Like she was like one of those female pop idols from the time, so she's got some cool tracks out there. But I definitely have softened in my cruel review of that wonderful jam at the end. As folks have heard in the trailer at the beginning, there's some really funky music in that trailer that I don't think is in the movie, and if it is, I don't remember it. But I forgot to send you that beforehand, Darren. But it'll get you grooving.
Right, yeah, I look forward to that when the episode comes out. Did you get this version? Have you bought the Blu-ray?
No, I just held on to my old DVD.
Got the Blu-ray MVD.
Ooh.
It looks pretty good. There's a comedy track with Kat Ellinger, which I didn't get a chance to listen to. But yeah, it's a booklet and all sorts. I know this is not going to be for the podcast because this is more visual. But yeah, if you get a chance,
okay, cool.
You might be able to get it cheap because I got it fairly cheap. Nice booklet.
Yeah, I totally forgot they put this out. That is hilarious.
Probably worth it for the bloody commentary track as well, I think.
I might just frickin' upgrade. Why not?
Don't blame me to your wife for spending money.
Hey, she'll get her cut. She gets my paycheck every 2 weeks.
Right.
So before I let you run out of here screaming, Darren, I always ask my guests to talk about a recently seen and loved film, just a movie that you watched recently that can be any genre, no limitations. You got anything exciting you've seen lately?
Right, so I was going to say The Slayer, right, from 1982, but I spoke about that on a stream last week. So basically, I'll say this one. So it's a British proto-slasher from 1975, and it's called Deadly Strangers.
Ooh, I've heard of that one.
So this has Hayley Mills in it. You've got this psychopaths going round kind of killing, random people. But what happens early on in this film is you see someone escape from a mental asylum. We don't see who it is. Mm-hmm. It kind of turns into this road movie where all this batshit stuff starts to happen. There's like interactions with these two bikers. People get murdered a woman gets murdered in the garage. Bit of a floozy woman as well. Mm-hmm. And then it all kind of ends up with these two characters. And yeah, I won't say nothing after that because you really don't want to know, I don't want to give anything away.
Nice.
But I will say that it is a fantastic film. But it's not out on DVD or Blu-ray or anything. I think what I've got here is like a grey market release. Yeah. But it is on YouTube. So it's Deadly Strangers, 1975. I highly recommend it.
Sweet.
Certainly if you love British kind of, proto-slashers.
That reminded me of another British one that I wish would get a release, which is Night After Night After Night.
Oh, man, I really need to see that one.
It is so giallo, it hurts.
I've got an old bootleg of it.
Yeah.
I've never put it in.
The copy's watchable. I think we probably have the exact same version.
Yeah.
It's just nothing out there for this movie. But, yeah, I've really enjoyed it. But, yeah, I'll definitely check out Deadly Strangers.
That's like a British giallo, you said? I think I've read as well.
Yeah.
Night After Night After Night.
Absolutely. Yep.
But Deadly Strangers has got the same director as Assault. Have you heard of Assault?
In the Devil's Garden, right?
Yeah, 1971 film. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's got the same director. Sidney Hayers, I think it is.
My pick for my recently seen and loved is nowhere near horror at all. It could be horrifying if you were scared of going to the beach. It's called Where the Boys Are, 1960. It is. I have seen part of the 1984 remake, which was a big, 80s fun movie. Where the Boys Are is 1960s fun. It is about some girls who are tired of being snowed in at their college, so they go to spring break down in Fort Lauderdale, and it follows their little stories, and it's really kooky. And even with this breakneck tone shift at the end, it's a freaking wonderful, silly film. I'm sure anybody who's into horror is going to watch it and go, "Why? What?" But
man, you got me interested though. Just by what you said.
Yeah, I love 60s cinema, so I love even the corny stuff. It was spring break over here, and so Liette and I watched a bunch of spring break movies, and this one had always eluded us, and we were totally taken with it. And it's got a really, really young George Hamilton before he turned into leather. And
nice.
Got Paula Prentice from the Stepford Wives. She steals the whole movie. She's great.
So you watch quite a broad, you're not just a horror guy. You do watch a lot of different subgenres and all that.
Yeah.
How many, percentage-wise, how many horrors, that you say you watch in a week or a month or a year?
That's a good question. I think definitely, as far as I'm always reaching for horror or giallo or slashers. I think slashers that we watch and rewatch the most, and then we mix it up. We watch a lot of British mystery TV,
right? Yeah,
Inspector Morse and Poirot and Agatha, any Agatha Christie adaptation.
No,
then we have every Elvis movie ever.
Right, I think I remember you saying that. Yeah,
we're big Elvis movie fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a fair amount of comedies like Clue, and sometimes some teen movies will sneak in there. There's a teen movie called Drive Me Crazy, which is one of my favorite freaking non-horror movies ever. It's just super silly stuff. So we watch a lot of musicals, not the Rodgers and Hammerstein. We don't watch those. Those are pretty dreadful, but good musicals with Fred Astaire, The Music Man. So we mix it up a lot. But if I had my druthers, we would only ever watch horror.
Do you get burnt out then, would you say, on horror sometimes?
Maybe. I think that's what it is that when I'm watching a light movie, like for example, Hello, Dolly with freaking Barbara Streisand and Walter Matthau. It's such a treat to see people live to the end of the movie. I don't know.
Right? Yeah.
But, Liette
I suppose watching some bad films make you appreciate the giallo even more.
Exactly. And Lietta's had as much of an influence on my viewing as I've had on hers. So there's a trade-off with what we end up watching. There's very few films in our collective non-horror collection that I would just not sit through with her. And, there's probably more stuff in my collection that she's like, oh God, not that one again.
Right. But she will sit down and watch a giallo from start to finish, yeah? Dude,
both books, both Giallo Meltdown and Giallo Meltdown 2, she was there for I would say at least 85% of every single one of those.
Wow. Yeah. You're a lucky man then, because every girlfriend I've had wouldn't sit through any giallos. They see Edwidge's finesse, and I guess they kind of get a little bit
right. It's all about the compromise, because even movies I used to not care for. I always tell the story. There's one called Practical Magic, which is it's a magic movie. It's about witches, but it's more of a romance kind of chick flick kind of thing. but it's so damn good that I finally gave in and was like, fine, I like it. And so it only took like 18 viewings,
Wow, yeah. I know how that works as well, yeah.
Yeah, because I can't, if I watch a movie, I don't want to see it again for another year. Like, I rarely watch a film, like, very often during the year, whereas Lietta, she has her comfort movies, and she'll watch those a lot.
I was going to ask you that as well. So say, obviously you've watched The Argentos a million times.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, Martino films, how often would you say you watch something like, say, Torso or Strange Voice of Mrs. Ward? Do you watch them multiple times a year or just once now? Because you've seen them so many times.
Yeah, like when I first started collecting, I had like 20 movies that were in Italian horror, Spanish horror, giallo. So I had very few. So I would back in the day rewatch like Phenomena over and over again, rewatch Zombie over and over again. And then more of my collection grew. I couldn't do that. So I would I didn't have time. I would just watch stuff once in a while. So sometimes I'll watch Torso and I won't watch it for like 3 years.
Okay, yeah.
It's like, and if I've covered it in one of my books, it's gonna be even like longer. So that's why Puzzle. This was my first viewing of Puzzle in, oh my God, over a decade easily.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just cycle stuff around. Like I watched The Beyond. We had on leap year. We had a leap year this year. So on leap day, we picked movies that were out of time. So
that works.
First thing I thought of was The Beyond. I hadn't watched The Beyond for, God, at least 6 years.
Wow.
So I'm always cycling stuff out. I'm also obsessed with like new stuff, like finding new to me horror movies. So like I'll be watching something like Dark Tower starring Michael Moriarty.
Okay,
I'll watch something like that that's just so random, but it was intriguing instead of like revisiting Opera or what was the one you said? Strange Vice.
Strange Vice,
Strange Vice, something like that. So
they're like a drug to me though. Torso's like a drug. I've got to take every 3 months or something, 6 months or whatever.
One of my goals was to get back to the gialli I haven't seen in a long time. So this was great that you threw Puzzle into the pile. The one I just watched 2 weeks ago for the first time was not for the first time in like at least 10 years was Plot of Fear.
Oh wow, Cavara, isn't it?
Yeah, and that one hit so hard. I had a great time with that. That was a fun.
Do you know what? I've not seen that probably about the same 10 years. I can't remember much about it at all.
You will enjoy it, my friend.
Yeah,
it's quite good. It's quite good.
I will definitely put that now on the watch pile.
Yeah.
The one I was surprised at going back to was Murder Obsession. I won't swear but I love that film.
Oh my!
I absolutely love that film.
Dude,
we picked it on because we do a thing on Dead Pit's channel where we do like a Eurocult podcast.
Yeah,
and I picked it on there, and Dirk, Steve, and Dana were watching it. I don't think they had the love I did, for it. But that film.
I adore that movie. That is one of my like top 5 favorites right there.
You're the one who got me into watching it. To give me that push to watch it, and then after that, I'm glad you did.
That has made a great double feature for me with Death Smiles on a Murderer.
Yeah.
Those two back to back are just so great. I love them.
Joe D'Amato, yeah.
Well, sir, I'm going to let you get going. You want to tell us how the folks can find you on various podcasts and YouTubes?
Yeah, so we do this thing on every Saturday usually. It's Out with the Kill. It's on Subjective Perspective Collective. We cover all things Jolly. We have, guests. Richard's been on. We have Troy Howarth a couple of weeks ago.
Nice.
So there's that. Keep a lookout for that. I do a Grindhouse Films on Visited by Voices 1, which we're doing next Tuesday. We're covering Hell Night and Humongous. That'll be coming out later on in the week. That's with Dan Stein, Dirk, and Agoraphobia's Keith. But so just keep a lookout for them too. I'm sure there's other things in the works coming as well. But
highly recommend. Well, man, thank you again for joining us.
No worries, man. It's been a pleasure as always.
Yeah. I'm glad we finally made time. I'll absolutely have you back on again for sure.
Oh, no, anytime. Just let me know. The same with yourself. We'll definitely get you back on sooner than later if that's okay with you. And we'll work out the subject and all that. Or you can pick one yourself, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah, and all that good stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. Bye, folks. Folks, thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you'd like to write into the show, send an email to doomedmoviethon@gmail.com or hit us up at doomedmoviethon on Instagram or at doomedmoviethon on Twitter or at doomedmoviethon at Discord, or go to Hello This Is the Doom Show on Facebook and message us there. If you want more Hello This Is the Doom Show, go to doomedmoviethon.com and click the podcast button for the archive, or go to YouTube and look up Doomed Moviethon and you'll find the classic episodes of Hello, This Is the Doomed Show. And if that's still not enough, I have written some books, about my love of movies over on Amazon.com. Just look up Richard Glenn Schmidt and you'll find Giallo Meltdown, a Moviethon Diary, Giallo Meltdown 2, Cinema Somnambulist, or Doomed Moviethon, the book. Hello, This Is the Doom Show is a proud member of the Legion Podcast Network. Go to legionpodcast.com and check out the other great shows over there.